briefly, and then I'll give you a few worksheets about cancer. So there are two ways you can get skin cancer. It can originate from epithelial cells in the top layers of your skin. And if that happens, it's called cutaneous carcinoma. And there are two kinds. There's squamous cell carcinoma and basal cell carcinoma. Then you can see in the top pictures, it shows you what they look like. Basal cell carcinoma is more of a clear blister. Squamous cell, you can see it's more of a red, brown, black color with more of a, and they're both can be open sores, but squamous cell is more commonly an open sore, but they both can, ooze and bleed and things like that. But basal cell is more of a silvery or clear blister. In the bottom picture is melanoma, which is different from these top two. So melanocytes can also become cancerous, and that's a melanoma, a malignant melanoma when that happens. So there are three kinds of skin cancer, just depends on the location as far as which one it will be. So squamous cell carcinoma is the top layer of your skin, basal cell, bottom layer of your epidermis, and then melanoma will be from your melanocytes.
So is it possible to not notice that you have skin cancer?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I mean, well, not at first. Now, it definitely does become painful.
Like what stage?
It just depends on person to person. I mean, some people can have really serious cancer and not know it. And that definitely is possible. You can get to a later stage skin cancer and not be aware of it. That definitely can happen. So it is important to just be aware, especially for moles. If you have moles in your body, it's very important you do check them, and that if there are changes in moles, you go to a doctor. That's usually when you're not aware of it. Or any sores that don't heal, you definitely want to go to a doctor for those too.
Like moles are like if they're bigger than a dime.
Yeah, look, I'll get to all. There's several things to look for. I'll get to that in this slide. They'll go through all the things to watch for in a mole. Yeah.
Is there a stage 5 cancer?
I haven't heard of stage 5. I mean, stage 4 is generally the last stage. I haven't heard of anything beyond that. I mean, maybe they've changed the terminology, but 4 is the last stage I've heard of, and that's where it's just metastasized and spread throughout the body. So I don't know what would be beyond stage 4.
So I know that it's most common, like for people who are usually indoors and then like go outside and get sunburned really badly to get skin cancer.
Exactly.
But can you also get it if you like you're outside for a certain amount of time each day and you like build up?
Yeah, that's right. So there can be prolonged sun exposure, which can also cause skin cancer, or a short-term bad sunburn. So both of those are risks for skin cancer. So either being outside a lot, like being like a farmer or a surfer, like somebody who's outside all the time, you're at risk for skin cancer if you have a job that you're outside for all the time. As well as somebody who stays indoors, but then goes outside, at the beach one day and gets really badly burned. So those are both risk factors for skin cancer.
Okay, is one worse than the other?
Yes. So, and I'll go through those in a second. But yes, there are varying skin cancers and some worse than others, and I'll go through which ones are worse and better than others. But for cutaneous carcinomas, so the top two, these ones usually originate from people who are light-skinned and over 40 and are in the sun a lot. So generally these two arise when you are in the sun if you have a job where you're supposed to be outside. So generally, this will happen on places in the body that are exposed to sun. Your face is a common place for these to happen. Your hands as well. Like anywhere exposed to sun a lot would be a site for these to happen. And so the sun damages your cells. Skin cancer happens when those cells don't die like they're supposed to. So the body is supposed to recognize cancerous cells or damaged cells and kill them so that they don't spread. But the body does not recognize them as damaged, and they keep on dividing and multiplying and get skin cancer that way.
So you can't just cut out the part of the skin that has the cancer cells?
You can if it's early stages, yes. So if you catch it early, then you can get it all out and you have no more cancer.
Okay, so what about later stages?
Yeah, then that's harder. So the later the stage, the harder it is to cut it all out
How come?
because it's spreading. It's like roots in the ground. You think of like a plant with roots in the ground. It's hard to get all those out, right? So the more widespread it gets, the harder it is to get out all the cancerous cells.
Like my grandmother said, like she has skin cancer on her nose a lot, but she'll have it like taken out, but then she'll have to go back in just to do it like twice a year.
They must not be able to get everything out at once. I guess it's in a place where they can't get all of it out, probably in her bone, I would imagine.
Okay, so like if you
It's-
get, but if you get it out, you're just not getting all of it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to do it like in stages, but it's not like they can take it all out and then it would come back in the same spot.
Yeah, no, I mean, usually if you get it all out, it should not come back.
Okay.
And so if it's coming back, then there must be some that stays in there for whatever reason they can't get to it. Good question?
Do you get sunburned in a specific spot, like often? Is that-
You're more prone to skin cancer, yeah.
But I'm saying one spot or-
Yes, that one spot, that's right. So everybody gets sunburned, that you're gonna be more prone to cancer where you had that sunburn. And that's why your face, your hand, your arms, those are common places for skin cancer. Wherever wherever you get sunburn, especially you're at risk for skin cancer. Because that's where your cells have been damaged. Apoptosis, this is a word for cell death. It's programmed cell death. So normally the cells are supposed to die at a certain time. Skin cells are supposed to die about every 2 weeks or so. But if they don't, then they can become damaged and then grow and lead to cancer. Cutaneous carcinomas, which are the top two, squamous cell and basal cell carcinoma, most commonly they're found in places in the body that are exposed to sunlight, your neck, your face, your scalp. So they're not usually things to worry about because they're very slow growing and you can get all of it out usually pretty quickly and easily, and it won't grow back at that point. So as long as you catch them early, especially catch them early, it's not anything that's going to be long-term. You just need to take out the skin cancer quickly and that's it.
And Miss Holly, people
Yes.
our age don't really get skin cancer.
Oh yeah, it's very, very rare. Yeah, at age 40 is usually when you start having cancer. Generally, yeah, somebody your age, it's very, especially skin cancer, it's very rare for that to happen in somebody your age.
What are the most common cancers for like younger kids to get?
Like leukemia would probably be the most common one for somebody who's young.
Yeah.
Lymphoma, yeah, so white blood cell cancer is one of the more common ones for people who are younger. Yeah, that's one I can think of right now is, yeah, that's, yeah. Besides that, there really aren't many cancers that kids get when they're young. I mean, of course, there's always exceptions,
Yeah.
but it's just not very common.
Is there like a type of cancer that's like is worse and gets to stage 4 faster?
Oh yeah, there's definitely different kinds of, some cancers can go really fast. It just depends on where it is. I think like pancreatic cancer spreads very quickly. So I think that's one of the ones that happens very quickly. Skin cancer is one of the slowest growing cancers. So of the cancers you can get, skin cancer by far is the slowest. But yeah, different organs have different rates. I don't know all of them, but I know pancreatic cancer is one of the fastest ones. And it depends on the person too. So it's not just a kind of cancer, but the person's body and how it responds to cancer as well. But some like brain cancer you can have for a very long time and not be aware of it. Other times you can grow very fast and so it just organ to organ it's different, but also person to person it's different. And so it's hard to just say, definitely this is a fast cancer, this is a slow cancer. There are always different cases for different people.
Is there a lot of parts of your brain that you don't need that you can live without, like if those cut out?
Well, yeah, you could live without them, but you definitely would be harmed without them. I mean, you could have parts of the brain that control your motor functions and you'd be paralyzed and you still would live, but you couldn't move your arms, for example.
There's not really like useless part of the brain, is there?
No, yeah, every part of the brain is important. But some parts of the brain would be like for memory. And so you might lose your memories, but again, survive and live a normal life, but not have your memories. You could have part of your brain that's been cut out for hearing and you can't hear anymore, or part of the brain for sight or for speech. But every part of the brain is important. So any part of the brain that is damaged, you're going to be impaired in some way, whether it's intelligence, whether it's ability to read, to speak, to do activities, you're going to be harmed in some way if any part of the brain is hurt. Basal cell carcinoma is the least malignant and the most common skin cancer. So of the skin cancers, this is by far the least severe. It's the most easily treated. So that's the one right here in this picture. So it originates in the basal cells, which would be right where the purple meets the white part right here. That's where it originates. So cells in the stratum basal mutate. They can't make keratin, and they become cancerous cells. And that's what you see as skin cancer. And at that point, you can see it grows, and it spreads beyond the basal membrane down to the dermis and down to the fat layer if it's allowed to grow. But again, it's very slow growing. You're going to see it. It's going to be an open sore that's not healing. It could be painful, and you're going to know something's wrong. So it's very rare that it metastasizes, which means that it spreads to your other organs into your bloodstream. Metastasizing means stage 4 cancer, when it's not just localized anymore, it's going to other parts of the body. And at that point, it's very hard to treat. You can't really have surgery for that. Chemo and radiation would be what you'd have to do at that point. In stage 4 cancer, it's hard to survive from that. You can, but it's difficult because it's spread throughout your body at that point. Stage 1 cancer would be where you're seeing right here, where it's just localized and very easily removed through surgery.
So stage 5, like that? Or-
I haven't heard of stage 5 cancer. Let me look this up and see. I mean, last I heard was stage 4. But they do change their names over the years. They might have changed it.
Mhm.
Do you know how long it'll be till like they have a reasonable like cure for cancer?
There's no way to know.
That's, like, evenly set.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely looking into different cures for it. There's really no way to know if and when we'll have a cure for cancer. It's really, yeah, there's no way to know.
Like, do they consider like immunotherapy like a cure, or is that just, or not really?
Yeah, it's not a true cure. I mean, for some people, yeah, it can, but it's not a guaranteed cure for cancer.
Because that one also just makes it like not grow, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I don't see stage 5 cancer in here. It's just stage 4 is the last stage I'm seeing.
Yeah, okay.
I heard they're making a cancer vaccine.
I've not heard about that. Do you know, like, is it for any kind of cancer or for just certain kinds of cancer?
I don't know, supposedly some results just came back that really positive.
Oh, that's really good news. That's,
I heard that.
No, well, then that's-
so that would be good for cancers that are from viruses. And a lot of cancers, we don't really know the cause of them. But yeah, definitely if it's a cancer that comes from a virus, that can really be helpful. On this slide right here, you wrote down the top ones, just this bottom one, I don't think you had written down yet. So you almost are guaranteed to survive basal cell carcinoma. You have 99% chance of being cured of it with surgery. So it's very rare that it spreads. And it's going to be a burning feeling. It's going to be, you're going to notice it. It's going to feel like a sore that burns and hurts. And so you're going to know it's there.
So how does the cancer kill you then?
'Cause it
If it's
spreads.
just growing?
It spreads to your organs and so these are bad cells. And these are cells that crowd out your good cells. And so that, just in your skin, it's not gonna kill you. But if it goes to, say, your kidneys or your liver and overtakes your liver cells and your kidney cells, and it can't work anymore.
It shuts down your organs by overpopulating.
That's
them.
right.
Okay.
Mhm. There's other pictures of what it looks like. And so we looked at basal cell carcinoma so far, and that's what this one looks like. Um,
Tomorrow's Friday the
12, yeah.
No way, really?
Going to the other kind of skin cancer, squamous cell carcinoma, which you can see it's usually a darker one. It's usually more of an open sore, but not always. It can be closed off too, like in this picture. This forms from cells that are in a top layer in your skin, the stratum spinosum. And it forms a shallow ulcer. So generally it's going to be an open sore. Might see bleeding. You might see red, brown marks. You can see, this looks like green, yellow as well. So it can be different colors. This one grows faster than basal cell carcinoma. And it can metastasize. So this one is more likely to be a problem, and this is more dangerous because this grows more rapidly. And the faster it grows, the more dangerous the cancer is. It can metastasize to your lymph nodes, which make your white blood cells. And at that point, it can be deadly.
What is metastasizing?
It means to spread to other organs.
And to the lymph nodes, dangerous?
Yeah, your lymph nodes make your white blood cells. And so without your lymph nodes, it's like having HIV, where you're prone to every infection.
And those aren't just here.
Yeah, they're all over your body.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is definitely, it's more dangerous skin cancer. It's not the most dangerous, but it's more dangerous by far than basal cell carcinoma. So this is common in sun exposed areas, just like the other kind that we talked about. Most commonly found on places that see sun, like your face, your scalp, your neck, arms, hands. But face is usually the most common place for it to be.
Can you get it like on your scalp?
Yeah, you
your
can.
hair?
Yes, it is definitely possible you do. Now, again, you would feel a sore. I mean, it's gonna hurt, so you're gonna know it's there. So squamous cell, you can see it starts up here. It's a lot higher up than basal cell to begin with, but it grows a lot faster than basal cell. Did you get those down? Now the last kind of skin cancer, melanoma, that can be anywhere in your body. And so this one is by far the most dangerous for a few reasons. For one thing is that you don't always feel pain with it. Usually you don't feel pain. And it can be anywhere, not just exposed parts of the body. And so you might not be aware of it. Malignant melanomas look like moles. They're pigmented with melanin. They can have a variety of colors, but it will always look like a mole to you. And this shows you difference between a mole and skin cancer. Melanomas have irregular shapes to them. They can be bumpy. So let's go through the things to look for in a mole. You want to write these down too. So the chart, it's important to know these. So have those written down too, along with your bullet points. So the rules for moles, A, B, C, D, E, and we'll go through each of those means. So A means asymmetry. So for a cancerous melanoma, it won't have symmetry. A normal mole though will have symmetry. And so if you see a symmetrical shape, then it's not going to be cancerous usually. But ones that are not symmetrical are definitely things to look at. B is for border. So if you see uneven edges, then that could be cancerous. But if you have a really defined border, then it's usually not anything to worry about. C is for color. So if you have a mole that is all one color, that's usually a healthy mole. But if you see a variety of colors, especially blue or white, then that's a bad sign. and D is for diameter. So a pencil eraser is a good rule of thumb for moles that are dangerous. Anything that's above that size, you need to have looked at by a dermatologist because that could be a melanoma. It's not always the case, but the ones that are big, you definitely do want to get checked out. And an E for is it for evolving? So ones that are changing color or changing size, you also want to get checked out.
This one, do you want the bullet points underneath, like A, B, C, D, E?
Yeah, you should, yeah, you can paraphrase those, but you should know what they mean. I mean, just you can, again, you have to like go through everything word for word on there, but you should understand what they are telling you. So melanomas are cancer of the melanocytes, which make the pigment. It's not a lot of skin cancers, about 5% of skin cancers are melanoma, but it's the most deadliest. It's the deadliest of all skin cancers. It's only half chance of surviving if it spreads. So it's very fast growing. Within about 6 weeks, it can go from being benign to being something that could kill you. So it's something that definitely is, it can be very fast and going from nothing to being very serious. So it is important that if you do have moles, that you go to the doctor every year to get them looked at. And that you also not just go to the doctor, but checking them yourself, that you are watching them. Because only you can really know if they're changing. The doctor can't, unless they take pictures every time you go to the doctor, which some do, they can't really know how much they're changing. So it's really up to you to monitor them and see if there's anything that looks different to you. They can arise anywhere. So not just on sun exposed areas, they can be anywhere in the body. So they can come from moles. Sometimes it's just a mole that just pops up on its own. They spread very fast. And that's what makes them so dangerous.
Is this like genetic?
It's not. I mean, they usually don't know what causes these ones, but no, there's not a gene that they can look at that lets them know that you have this. So they're not really sure what causes melanomas. It's not, it can be sun exposure, but not usually. It seems like there's something else going on besides sun exposure.
How many like? Okay. So
Because
no, like gender and
no, yeah, I haven't, yeah, no, nothing like that. So the other two skin cancers are tied to sun exposure. Melanoma is not nearly as much. It certainly can contribute to it, but it's not just that, because it can be in areas that are not exposed to sun.
Are regular moles genetic?
They can be, not always. I mean, just, it depends, but they may or may not be. Everybody have these down? Generally moles that, you know, also moles that bleed are also things you want to look at. If you're seeing that they are bleeding or scabbing, that can also be a problem. Moles that have hair growing through them are generally benign. So that's one thing to look at too, is that that gives you an idea also if they're good or bad. Everybody have these down? Yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and pass out while you're doing that, a couple of worksheets. About Anybody need more time on this? Okay.
So basically, don't ever go outside.
No, I can, again, melanomas you can get from being inside all the time. You could stay inside. Now, melanomas can be caused by high intensity sunlight too. So you could certainly get them from, especially from being sunburned. That can lead to melanomas, but you can also get them from not being in the sun as well. So it's just one factor that could cause them, but not guaranteed that that's why you got them. But it's important if you're outside to, to use sunscreen. It's important to limit your exposure to the sun so you don't get sunburned. Tanning beds are a really bad idea. That can really exponentially increase your risk of skin cancer. So any sunburn you get will increase your chance of skin cancer by a lot. It's just important to protect yourself. If you're outside, if you are outside for a long period of time, it's good to wear long sleeves and jeans when you're working out for a long, even if it's a really hot day. That protects you. You're wearing a hat. Those things can help to protect you from the sun.
Miss Holly,
Yes.
I've heard that supposedly jeans and like a long sleeve is cooler.
I suppose if you're sweating a lot and you have, the fabric gets wet, and I suppose that might be what would help you. But besides that, I'm not sure why that would be cooler. Yeah, but it would make sense if you were like sweating a lot and it just stays wet. I could see that. But besides that, I'm not sure why it would be. Is everybody done with this? No. So this packet that I gave you, we'll do a few more notes before you start, and then I'll give this to you. You read through the information on here, and then there's questions to answer on the very last page. So just read through it, and then the questions are on the last 2 pages.
Do you want us to just write their questions on like a separate sheet?
It'd probably be easier. Before you do the packet, there's one more slide on here that let's go through that, then I'll turn the lights back on. You can work on the packet. So melanomas are generally caused by high intensity sunlight, but usually it's when you're burned, and it's just one day in one instance. Melanomas,
I think the melanomas were like random,
they can be. It just depends.
but most of
So,
the time
It really depends on the person. They can or cannot be. So it's one factor that can cause a melanoma. That's not the only factor that can cause it. But if you are sunburned, that could lead to melanoma. But you could be somebody who's never sunburned and still get a melanoma. But most commonly, it's these skin cancers arise in people who are commonly indoors, but then go outside one day and get really bad sunburn. That's a very high risk if you're inside all the time and go outside one day and get badly burned.
Oh.
And once it goes on to deeper tissue, it's very hard to treat. And so it is important to get these checked out early than later, especially, again, you usually have a week's time. If it gets to be melanoma, you usually have a matter of weeks before it spreads.
you can't feel it.
Yeah, it's usually not painful in the beginning stages. Usually you just aren't even aware of it. It can be, but not usually. No, just you can check your body. It's not that hard to do. I mean, if as long as you are being mindful, especially if you have moles already, and just checking them, you can definitely catch it early enough. You just have to make sure that you do that. It's easier if you don't have any moles because it's easy to see if you do have one compared to if you don't. But no, it's definitely something you can check for yourself and be aware of before it's too late.
If you catch it early, can you just cut it out?
Yes, yeah. Generally, if you catch it early, it's in the top layer of your skin. You can cut it out and you're fine.
So since like your diet and exercise has to do with cancer, like if you're healthier, you're less likely to get it, and, or at least certain ones. Like, are you more susceptible to certain cancers if you have diabetes or like type 2 diabetes?
For diabetes, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there probably are cancers you're more likely to get with diabetes. I can check and see.
Is there like,
But
what's the, is it the pancreas that that secretes insulin.
Mhm.
So would you get like maybe,
You might be more prone, you might be more prone to it.
okay.
I'll check and see. I mean, it would make sense you would be more prone to different cancers or diabetes, but I'm not sure which ones you would be more prone to. But it would make sense the pancreas would be one of the ones you would be more prone to.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, good. All right, so that's the last slide for today. Let me go ahead and exit out of this and turn the lights on and work through this packet, answer the questions on the back 2 pages. Yes.
Are you gonna work us off for color for this on black and white?
Wait for color, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, is it talking about color on here?
Well, I mean, it asked us which one it could be in color versus one of the options for,
Well, if it's black and white, I guess it is.
Does it
Like, does it
say?
have variance in color?
I mean, you can kind of just tell looking at the pictures, right? I mean, it looks like the bottom 2 don't have variance in color. The top one definitely does. So just, it's enough to just